So you and 50, y'all did date though.
I've always said we were like best friends.
Best friends.
We were always best friends.
You're watching live from the Plaza Stories, where we go deeper than the headlines and give you the full picture. In 2000, a 25-year-old man from Queens was shot 9 times and left for dead. 3 years later, that same man walked the red carpet at the MTV VMAs, holding hands with one of Hollywood's biggest actresses. He had already secretly dated one of the most sought-after women in the industry, and she kept it quiet for over a decade because she didn't want anyone to know. This is the story of 50 Cent at his peak. How his rise attracted the most famous women in entertainment, how he handled it, and why one woman still can't stop talking about him 22 years later. To understand why 50 Cent attracted the women he did at the level he did, you have to understand what he was. In 2000, he gets shot 9 times outside his grandmother's house in South Jamaica, Queens. He survives. He has a bullet still lodged in his tongue for the rest of his life. He turns the story of that survival into the foundation of his entire brand. Then Eminem discovers him through a mixtape, signs him to a joint deal with Aftermath and Interscope. Wanksta drops. The streets go crazy. The industry can feel what's coming. And the feeling is that this man cannot be stopped. There is something about that energy, the survivor, the underdog, the guy who was already the most feared rapper on mixtape before he even had an album out. That is impossible not to be drawn to. Before anyone outside of their circle knows, during the rise, during the Eminem cosign, during the build-up to get rich or die trying, 50 Cent is quietly dating Meagan Good. She is the it girl of the early 2000s. Biker Boys just dropped. Her career is ascending at exactly the same rate as his, and she makes a deliberate decision to keep their relationship completely private. Here's what she says about it years later on Hollywood Unlocked. At that time in my career, I'd just come off Biker Boys. My career was going in a really great direction. I didn't want my connection to him to be the catalyst for any success I had. I kept it under the radar because if people couldn't see the relationship for what it was, they would label me a certain way. She is 21. She is thoughtful enough to protect both of them. Then he asked her to star in the 21 Questions video with Nate Dogg. The chemistry is undeniable because it's real. The whole world watches them on screen and wonders. Nobody finds out for over 10 years. And when she finally confirms it, she says, people would be surprised by what a nice human being he is. When I knew him, he was very kind. February 2003. Get Rich or Die Tryin drops. 872,000 copies in the first week. One of the biggest debut album weeks in hip-hop history. In the Club is the #1 song in America. 21 Questions is everywhere. Pimp, every car, every party, every radio station. He is not just the hottest rapper alive. He is one of the most famous people in the country. And with that level of fame, Hollywood comes to him. The movie deals, the magazine covers, the invitations to every event, and the women. When you go from the streets of Queens to being the most played artist on American radio in under a year, the caliber of who comes into your orbit changes completely. 2003 BET Awards. Vivica A. Fox is in the audience. At this point, she is a certified Hollywood star. Independence Day. Set It Off. Kill Bill Volume 1 just hit cinemas. She is accomplished, glamorous, and 10 years older than 50. He gives her a shout-out from the stage. I'd like to thank Vivica Fox for wearing that dress. The crowd goes wild. His team calls her team. She says later, we met after he said that thing at the BET Awards. I was shocked. I was like, wow. They start talking on the phone. By spring they are dating. The most talked about rapper in the world and one of Hollywood's most recognizable actresses. Together. August 2003. Radio City Music Hall. The MTV VMAs. Beyoncé is performing Crazy in Love. Jay-Z is there. The entire industry is in the room. And 50 Cent walks the red carpet holding Vivica Fox's hand in front of every camera in the world. The photos are everywhere within hours. They are instantly one of the most talked about couples in entertainment. The kid from South Jamaica, Queens, shot 9 times 3 years ago, is standing next to Vivica A. Fox at the MTV VMAs. It is a moment, but Vivica later says this is exactly what kills them. We went way too public, way too fast. We had too many people in our business, and that's what killed the relationship, unfortunately. October 2003, the World Music Awards. After the event, 50 Cent goes on the radio and announces on air casually that he and Vivica are no longer together. Vivica is not there. Vivica does not know. A friend calls her. That is how she finds out her relationship is over. Not a phone call, not a conversation. The radio. He never officially broke up with her. He just stopped. Vivica says, when I look back at it now, he went back to being that tough guy because we really loved each other a lot at the time. 50 tells Howard Stern they went public too fast, and he felt her team was using the relationship. He admits he ghosted her completely. For a man who was about to become one of the biggest names in entertainment, he handled the end of this relationship the same way he handled everything else. On his own terms, his own timeline, without explanation. After Vivica, 50 is at the absolute height of his powers. G-Unit, The Massacre, Get Rich or Die Tryin the film. He is linked to Joy Bryant, his co-star in the film. Paris Hilton, Cannes Film Festival in Vegas. Naomi Campbell briefly in 2004. He is one of the most desirable men in the world at this point. Then in 2007, Ciara, which we've covered in another episode of this series. 3 years of genuine love that he later calls the one that got away. Every woman at the top of their field. Every connection generating headlines. Because that is what 50 Cent is in 2003 to 2010. He is the center of everything. Here is the part of this story that makes it genuinely fascinating. In 2010, they make peace. She stars in his video. They appear on Tyra together. He says he considered proposing to her. In 2015, 12 years after the ghosting, Vivica goes on the Meredith Vieira show and says he is absolutely the love of my life. The internet explodes. In 2021, she goes on Vlad TV and says it again, he was the love of my life. I will admit that without any reservations. His then-girlfriend Cuban Link sees it on the Shade Room and comments with a violin emoji. Vivica clarifies on Instagram stories and finishes with, but can I tell you that I'm glad that's so over? 50's response to the whole thing. I'm never bothered by when she says that. Then in 2025 at a women's event, Vivica says she'd tell her younger self not to go so public so fast. 50 posts an AI image of himself as Morpheus. Damn, it's been 22 years, Vivica. 22 years from a brief 2003 relationship. Still generating content. Still generating feelings. Still generating headlines. And he's not bothered. This is what happens when someone becomes one of the most famous people in the world in under a year. The women who enter that orbit, whether quietly like Meagan Good or publicly like Vivica Fox, feel the full weight of it. Meagan was smart enough to protect herself. Vivica was caught in the wave. And 50? He was 50. He moved like he moved on everything else. Fast. Decisive on his own terms. Drop in the comments, do you think Vivica really meant it when she called him the love of her life? Because after 22 years, it seems like she did. This has been live from the Plaza Stories. Subscribe for more.